Hey everyone, welcome to my video tour of the Concord Mall in Wilmington, Delaware from February 1st, 2025. This is a really cool mall and I'm excited to share it with you guys. I love the architecture here, I love the earth tones, I love the green painted metal, the brass and glass, it's all beautiful to me. My childhood mall actually used to look a lot like this. Menlo Park Mall had a very similar style of architecture after its 1991 enclosure. So anyway, this mall has a really interesting history and I'm excited to tell you it, so let's get started. So, history on this mall begins all the way back in the spring of 1963 when developer out of Philadelphia, Albert M. Greenfield, announced plans at the present mall site for a 550,000 square foot shopping center, at the time to be named Devonshire Square. According to the developers, it was not decided whether the stores would be in an open air mall or an enclosed air conditioned mall, but what was clear is that it was intended to be the quote, largest shopping area in Newcastle County. The intention was to have the mall open by the summer of 1964. However, this optimism seemingly died down rather quickly as the newspapers make no mention of this plan after. Despite the fact that the plans for Devonshire Square were dead in the water, Allied Stores Company, which was a very large department store holding company, would soon announce plans for a 150,000 square foot freestanding Almart discount department store on the site, which would open its doors in March of 1966. Two years later, in March of 1968, developers William Gassel and Harry Rubenstein announced plans for a 29-store enclosed mall to connect directly to the Almart. Construction occurred quickly and smoothly, and by March 11, 1969, the 310,000 square foot mall, now named Concord Mall, was open for business, holding a reception for special guests on the night of the 10th and an opening ceremony for the general public on the morning of the 11th. Kind of a quick side note here, but we're coming up on the center court of this mall, and this is just gorgeous. I love the clock. I love the fountain, which was unfortunately turned off on the date of my visit. I love the giant glass ceiling. I love those columns with the frosted glass palm leaves. It's just gorgeous. I love it. Anyway, let's get back to the history. So, according to the local papers, upon opening, stores at this mall included Dr. Pet Center, Donuts Galore, Dubé Jewelers, Fabric Tree, Loft Candy, Miles Shoes, Singer Sewing Machine Company, Regal Shoes, Woolworth, and Thrift Drug, with Pathmark supermarkets occupying a freestanding building next to the mall. Something very entertaining I found was that on opening day, all visitors were given free thermometers so they could ensure that the inside of the mall was 72 degrees and no hotter. Architecturally, the mall featured a large clock, obviously not the same clock that we see today, a gazebo under a giant skylight surrounded by greenery and fountains, concrete flooring, and a general garden-like atmosphere, not unlike what we see today, but obviously a lot more basic and not as 90s looking. At the time of the mall's opening, there were already plans to make the mall even larger by adding another anchor department store and a cinema. These plans would not take very long to come to fruition, as by February of 1970, a single-screen cinema was already open, which was attached to the Pathmark. Also, in 1970, in November, a 60,000 square foot office building was opened, and it was attached to the mall by a side corridor. In April of 1971, an addition to the mall was announced, which would add a department store and many more small shops. Pomeroy's department store of Reading, Pennsylvania was confirmed as the new anchor, and the expansion would include a substantially larger Woolworth. This new addition would open on March 9th of 1972, with stores in the new section including GNC, Friendly's Ice Cream, Walden Books, and Spencer Gifts. There was a large fountain in front of Pomeroy's, and the new section of mall kept the same interior design scheme as the original section. It now hosted a total of 70 stores over a space of 650,000 square feet. Due to this, the office building was now directly on top of the mall, which is an important detail that will come around later. Throughout the remainder of the 1970s, history on this mall is relatively uneventful, with the next major change taking place in 1979 when Almart was sold to Montgomery Ward, who would convert the store to their Jefferson Ward discount store nameplate. The single-screen cinema located next to Pathmark would be converted to a twin-screen in 1980, 2 years before Strawbridge and Clothier, a department store based in Philadelphia, announced plans to relocate their store from a nearby shopping center to the Concord Mall. The 150,000 square foot showplace of a department store, covered in marble and with natural light pouring in through skylights, opened on August 11th of 1983. In 1984, Concord Mall was sold from its builders to JMB Realty of Chicago, Illinois for over $31 million. A year later, in summer of 1985, the Jefferson Ward at Concord Mall was sold to Massachusetts-based discount store Bradley's, with that store opening in early 1986. In 1987, the Bon-Ton stores of York, Pennsylvania would acquire the Pomeroy's department store chain, with the Bon-Ton opting not to open a store at the Concord Mall and rather selling the store to Boscov's, another department store chain which was also based out of Reading. Boscov's would open their store at the Concord Mall in fall of 1987. It was in the second half of the 1980s that the new owners of the mall, JMB Retail, were considering a major expansion to the Concord Mall. Due to the landlocked nature of the site, the plans called for a full second story with food court to be built directly on top of the existing mall. These plans would have also included parking garages and potentially a fourth and fifth anchor department store, with one to the north of the Boscov's. This would have created a mall-through of the Boscov's, meaning you would have had to walk through the Boscov's to get through the other part of the mall. Due to community opposition and concerns about the ability of the mall's limited site to handle such a large building, these plans would never come to fruition. However, they were talked about all the way up until the early to mid-1990s. Unfortunately, Bradley's would close all stores in their southern division, including every store in Delaware, by the summer of 1989. However, this wasn't all bad news for the mall, as in 1990, Sears announced plans to build a large new department store on the site where Bradley's once stood. This coincided with another push by JMB to add a second level, parking garages, and new department stores to the mall. JMB was adamant that this expansion was necessary to prevent a competing mall from being built less than a mile away. Tentatively named Brandywine Town Center, this new mall was planned as an upscale, two-level mall featuring department stores new to Delaware and luxury specialty shops. Construction on this mall actually began in the late 1990s as an enclosed mall, but midway through the process, the plan was converted into a big box power center using the half-built mall structure. This resulted in a very unusual and suspiciously mall-like layout, as you can see here. Interestingly, the food court was actually completed and was later repurposed into a Bob's Discount Furniture. Due to the mall's location directly adjacent to residential neighborhoods, it was proving to be extremely difficult for the developers to gain permits for a major renovation and expansion. Despite all of this, Sears opened in September of 1992. It was 175,000 square feet and was built extra tall to accommodate a future second-level addition to Concord. In 1994, due to the developer's inability to gain permission to add a second floor and new department stores to the mall, a renovation was begun, which was a toned-down version of what they had wanted to do in the first place. This would add marble flooring, brass accents, a neoclassical-inspired ceiling, large clock tower and fountain in the center court, and an overall reimagining of the mall's common area and exterior. The product of that renovation is what you see here today. A year later, Strawbridge & Clothier would convert the mall's office tower into a home store, which had a view directly down into the mall corridor. In 1996, Woolworth converted their store into a new concept format, which would then close a year later with the rest of the Woolworth chain. In 1998, Barnes & Noble booksellers would replace Pathmark, and in 1999, the cinema would close and be replaced by Ulta Beauty and Best Buy. In 1998, just 4 years after completing a major renovation to the mall, JMB Realty sold the mall to Allied Retail Properties. In 2002, H&M would replace the closed Woolworth, and in 2006, Strawbridge & Clothier was converted to Macy's after Federated Department Store's buyout of the May Department Stores Company, who themselves had purchased Strawbridge & Clothier in 1996. History on this mall is relatively quiet throughout the rest of the 2000s and 2010s, with the mall enjoying an occupancy rate in the mid-80% range. In 2019, Barnes & Noble booksellers left the mall to be replaced by Sprouts Farmers Market. It was in 2020 when Allied Retail Properties sold the mall to, drumroll please, Namdar Realty Group, a company that is well known for letting their malls sit and rot and not be proactive with leasing or getting new stores in. In February 2020, unsurprisingly, Sears announced they would be closing their store at the Concord Mall, with the store shuttering by April. As of 2025, the mall has nearly 40 of its 80 store spaces occupied, which is around 50%, which is not great, not terrible. I think Namdar really needs to get their act together and get some more aggressive leasing going because I don't want to see this mall start to fail. That's about it for the history of the Concord Mall. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I've never done a history video before with narration and all this, so if you guys enjoy it, please let me know. If you don't enjoy it, please let me know, and I won't make another one like this. Anyway, if you guys are still here, thanks for tuning in, thanks for watching the whole video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.